Now ready to go. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. I need to call the program committee meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to meeting minutes from the December 10th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the December 10th meeting? Second?
Second job.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Time comments from the audience may be made on items not listed on the agenda that are of public interest and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district. The committee has a policy of limiting speakers to not more than 3 minutes. The committee cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda. Public input may be offered on an agenda item when it comes up for discussion and or action. Are there any public comments at this time, Andrew?
No public comments.
No public comments. Chief Executive Officer report, I believe.
I have no items today. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to program updates. Number 1 is progress and final report update. Are there any questions regarding the information provided in the packet?
I noticed that there were consultation meetings this week for, was it, I think 2 grant applications. One of them grant number 1526 Regional Access Project Foundation, and then
I think you jumped
Seroptimus?
ahead.
Oh, is that
We were
the-
looking at the progress
Program.
report, progress and
Mhm.
final reports.
Oh,
Report. Page 6.
okay, no questions on that. No.
Okay. Now the next
So
one.
now we'll move on to
Status
grant
report.
application
Okay.
status report, which is your question.
Okay, so you had which one now? The RAP, right? We had a grant application consultation yesterday.
And then on the 12th, and then grant 1531, so Optimus, right? Just wondering how, those meetings went.
So with the grant application consultation with the Serapis House of Hope, they do not have audited financials, which they had submitted a review, which they called audited financials, and it kind of slipped by all of us. And so when we did speak with them at the application consultation, they did not have the audit financials, so they are going to be getting their audited financials. So which we put this request on hold until we get those submitted. And then, is that, you have a question about that? No?
And then 1526, so I noticed how'd that meeting go? And then I noticed that the 200,000 scratched out, and then there's a new amount
Right.
of 240,000.
If you'll recall that this grant was brought forward, which we did not do it did not have a consultation with them or review it because it was goals 5 and 7, which are outside of the high priority. And they had submitted originally for 200,000. The committee had given us direction to continue to bring to the board with their recommendation for us to continue our due diligence. And then the board, of course, agreed to that as well. So we started our due diligence, and we had, but between them and then the meeting that we had with them, they revised their grant application to add another 140 some thousand because they wanted us to pay for the whole program. So we had our grant consultation with them yesterday, and with them and Serapis, for transparency, I did mention that we were going to be meeting with Finance Committee yesterday and Program Committee today to talk about that we only have less than $500,000 in our grant budget. And that between Eric and I, we had a joint staff report on different options that could be considered for this remaining 500,000. And, so we were transparent, and told them that, and so that we had over $15 million in grants submitted. Another $3.4 million working
Yeah.
and have not been submitted, so we're like, what do we do? So, we did ask them, why did they bump it up 140 some thousand? They said, well, their board told them to do that. Yeah, ask for the full amount.
Did they say what, the additional 140 was going to be?
It's extra staff to continue for the whole 2 years program
Mhm.
to pay for them 100%. It was 100%, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they,
So after we did talk to them, then they have sent back a revised application for now the 200, back to the 200,000 as originally submitted. So, but of course, according to what's going to happen, what we're going to discuss today about the grant budget, whether or not where that goes. Yeah.
Alrighty, if we had a magic wand, if it's a future conversation on this agenda, are we anticipating, seeing some of these, next month for our program committee? meeting?
It all depends on what you guys talk about today, what you want to do.
When we get to item I, that'll probably be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
Mhm. If that wasn't an issue, will we be seeing some of these next month? Or which ones would be ready to see? Comes to the
Well,
committee.
RAP would not be ready to see, no. Through Optimus, no. The LGBTQ Community Center, yes. We just had a meeting with them. We have not met with Lift to Rise yet, and then the mini grants are separate.
Mhm. Is the consultation scheduled for the LGBTQ?
We have that today.
You had it today?
Yeah.
Oh. Because it says. When it was posted that the date was pending. Okay. That's why I asked. Mhm. On the status, it says pending a confirmed
right.
date for a grant
Yeah,
application.
we had that today.
Mhm, okay. Well, I don't think I have any other questions on this item.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Connie?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to number 3, grant payment schedule. Are there any questions regarding the grant payment schedule? Okay, we'll move on to grant.
We
funding.
are going to point out in the future, which we have done, but we're going to probably really more of an emphasize now that, pay attention to the grant balance, because we had gotten a little bit of pushback yesterday from finance administration, like, well, how come we didn't know about this? Because it's like, you're down to almost 400,000, 500,000. Like, well, it's been,
I know that it's in the packets, I know that, like it's seeing
always
that, but
provide
I know,
grants.
but maybe
Provide-
we needed like a flashing light or something.
Yeah.
like,
It's
wait,
highlighted, you know,
wait,
just,
wait. Oh, yeah.
This last meeting, we did approve a lot of grants and a lot of sponsorships and all that.
well, sponsorships have their own light in, they don't come out of the grants.
We've
Okay.
been
But
approving
we
a
had
lot.
$1 million for the mitigating air, building,
Youth.
not
So, you-
resilient youth, let's write down, or he's out there, empowering youth.
we do highlight in two spots for the board packets. One being on the grant schedule, that is the yellow highlighted line at the bottom, which will just show the remaining value for the fiscal year. And then on the financials, one of the first pages of it will show the proportional, how much we spent to the budget so far, because we do allocate the grant budget equally over each of the 12 months, just to kind of get a feel for how we are year to date.
I believe this was the first time we've had this, right? That I can remember, where we're finishing up our dollars.
Yeah, not,
6 months in advance.
most years we have some carryover.
Mhm.
We haven't granted the full amount, but
Okay.
I think the new lease communication and the 650 million are generating lots more. grant
Which is good, I'm excited, because we're spreading the word, we're here to help out the community, anything that aligns with mission, vision, and I'm pretty sure that we'll continue doing that within our next strategic plan as well. So I'm happy to actually hear that there's more interest, and that only means that more people are getting to hear and learn about the healthcare district and what we do and talking about positioning ourselves as, you know, that main like healthcare, you know, partner in the desert. I think, I like hearing that there's way more interest and people are coming to us. Our organizations are coming to us to ask for support. I really do appreciate that. That's a board member comment.
It's good to see that the uptake in grants, but we also have to be careful with what we're spending because we still don't know. It's still up in the air for that money, so it's kind of hard. Okay, so we'll move on to grant number one, grant number 1569 for Galilee Center Bridge to Health and Housing, $556,803 for a 2-year term. You want to give us a brief
Sure.
overview and then?
So this was one as part of our board approved grant process. They picked goal number 5 and goal number 7. So it's not one of the high priorities. So we were, as part of that, a process, we are to bring this back to the program committee, ask them for good direction on where we should go, continue with due diligence, as you can see with the very end, the staff recommendations, but the program committee can move this request forward to the board with the recommendation to continue the internal grant process, due diligence, even though they're outside of the high priority goals. You could deny this request as it doesn't meet the district's high priority goals. We could also wait and not fund it until we wait until our own strategic plan is completed to see how this request would align with new goals and strategies and the pillars and initiatives. And internally, we did look at this because we have not had a consultation with them because that's not part of the process yet. Is to work with the applicant that we could revise their request, but of course, what's going to happen later on. The revised request would be specifically associated with their deliverables 3 and 4. They have 4 deliverables. 3 and 4 is specifically dealing with providing healthcare resources. There's mobile clinics, dental providers, and behavioral health providers, and as well as to help stabilize the families that are in crisis. And that this would move their funding request into the high priority goals 2 and 3. Yeah, access primary care and specialty care and access behavioral health care. Obviously, we probably reduce the amount requested from 500 some thousand because they would have 4 deliverables. And we were not recommending pass-through dollars of money just to go to rental assistance.
I have a question for me. Are we allowing, are we gonna, and I guess it depends, it will depend also on our next item. Are we going to let grantees or those that might be interested in applying for a grant, like, hey, we're no longer accepting applications? Or are we gonna allow them until we adopt our new strategic plan and say, as long as you submit within that time frame, we're gonna still base our decision on our current strategic plan? Have we thought about that? Like, how are we gonna?
This is again, when we get into that,
Yeah.
these are some of the options that we are asking for direction from the program committee. What would you like to see? What are some of the recommendations you would give to the board? We have finance and administrations committee.
Because
what
I
they
read like
want to do.
the options, but I wasn't sure if we had anything in mind already. And I guess looking to the future, that's something that we should incorporate in our next strategic plan, where it's like, hey, we want to accept any new applications 6 months before this other strategic plan ends, right? Just
And perhaps maybe we just kind of table the decision on this, discussions that we're discussing. But the direction maybe until after we do that item I.
I have
It all plays into.
a number of questions on this because the county funded this program. As everyone is probably aware, there are no more asylum seekers coming across the border. Most of them that did come through the program were located with either sponsors or families. It's a very small number that didn't have sponsorships. So I think finding out what that actual number is, this is a very large ask that I don't think the need is there for right now. I totally support the Galilee Center and they do amazing work. But I'm a little leery about the need that is still there.
Yeah, part of this, just kind of give a little bit more context, when the Galilee Center shut down, the Mauna Hotel, where a lot of the long-term shelter asylum seekers, which was always full. Once the federal funding was cut off, those families had to scramble and they had to find housing. Some of them did not find housing and are staying at the shelter that the Galilee Center operates in Mecca. We were providing medical services to those through our medical mobile unit. And at one point, even then Director Zavala was providing mental health and counseling services to the women that were there. So some of these families did stay here locally because that was the whole intent of having the long-term shelters, because they did not have sponsors.
Right.
So it was a significant amount, because that hotel had at least 100 rooms that were comprised of multiple families multiple individuals
Right.
that were staying there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the number is now.
Mhm.
Because the county has worked a lot with the Galilee, and we actually funded a couple months after the federal funding cut. And then worked very closely to help house those families. So I'm just wondering what the actual number is now.
Maybe part of this grant would be finding out what the number is. So that we can give better direction on how to.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, if we want to table it until after the discussion on but then I would lean more towards more due diligence on this, so.
Well, that would be the direction then, is to move forward with due diligence. then.
And we can just do that now, then we don't have to wait about it.
But on that particular, but on the recommendation that we cut out a couple of those deliverables that had nothing to do with health.
Yeah.
And more concentrate on.
On the health aspect of it.
So we would have to change their grant application to more healthcare.
Streamline more towards those two deliverables.
So I would make that as a motion then.
I'll second. Roll call, then, you have to go, or
So, excuse me, I'm not sure that,
It
Those
doesn't
are as much
require
as
an
you're
actual
thinking.
vote.
Oh, it's just
Direction.
guidance.
just,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
the direction.
so then we direct.
Thank you.
Continue with due
Continue
diligence
with
but on the staff's recommendation regarding deliverable 3 and 4, that's specific to health.
Yeah.
Resources,
And the specific need that's out there.
a specific need.
Thank you. Move on to sponsorship. So first we have the Angel Light Academy 27th Annual Youth Leadership Conference, 20,000 sponsorship.
The information's in the packet. We've started doing the staff report for the committee members after some guidance and direction last month. So hopefully this is helpful in communicating to the committee members. Didn't go into details of what the actual sponsor the event is, but that's part of the packet that's attached there. But we give a summary of what they're actually requesting. And this is the first time sponsorship request. We have not provided any prior sponsorship funding. The sponsorship documents are included for your reference.
FYI, 10 years ago, we did give them a mini grant for $5,000 for this same particular conference.
For 5,000? I'm just wondering why the sponsorship ask is so high.
Well, it is,
And it's
but-
something that we haven't
And they'll
done
cover
in a long
80%.
time.
And their budget is like 95% or something,
90,
like we
yeah.
would be covering 80% of the
Yeah.
event, so. Cause and I apologize to Chris, I had read that Chris was recommending the 20,000.
No, I
Oh,
don't.
I saw that. Yeah, initially I was like, I don't know.
I think another thing to consider is also that they ask for a donation of $50 per participant. That,
Here's the budget, so.
I mean, I think if we're sponsoring something to help the community, it should also be free for the community, right? Like the same money that we're sponsoring with should be able to cover what their fees are. And if that's not being done, I mean, the
Yeah, you'll see they're
It's
told
really-
being 25,000 and then asking us for 20, so.
But they also, in their cover letter, ask for not less than 5,000. Yeah. So that's what they're requesting. Just providing that information to the community.
I would be more open to maybe a 5,000 ask.
Definitely.
I'm good with that too.
Mhm.
I make a motion to approve this one for 5,000.
I'll second.
Need a roll call.
Excuse me.
It's okay, you had a long day.
Vice President Rodriguez and Chair Rescue.
We'll move on to Variety, the Children's Charity of the Desert, Women of Wonder. February 6, 2026 sponsorship. What is the ask that they're asking for?
Doesn't say, yeah.
They didn't request specifically. But what we've done there is provide their sponsorship levels. And we did provide a $2,500 sponsorship last year.
They do have a couple open grants.
I would move for this, I'd like sponsor at 3,000.
I'll second.
Well, coin for
What's your logic in that?
Because if we gave them 2,500 last year, they don't have 2,500 this year.
That, and then it comes for the table,
Table,
which we
exactly.
can.
Exactly.
Mhm. Recommend that one.
President Barraza,
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chair Rescue.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to number 3, Loma Linda University Children's Hospital Foundation, Big Hearts for Little Hearts, Desert Guild 24 Annual Gala Hearts Full of Hope. This one, they asked for 3,000 for the bronze heart.
The thing is, oh,
Well, we got $6 million out.
that's true. I would move for the $3,000 sponsorship.
I'll second.
We'll roll call in here for the report.
President Barraza.
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chair Perez. Yes.
Yeah. We'll move on to the Speed 2026 Speed Chase Humanitarian Awards, major sponsor level at 25,000. This is almost amazing. This is one that I've been debating, like, we've been sponsoring them for high amounts in the past few years. And, I think nothing would happen if we sponsored them for a lower amount. That's just what I think. But I don't know how you guys feel.
Yes.
So last year we did the 12,500, which got one preferred table of 10. And what they're asking, requesting is for 25, which would get 2 preferred tables of 10 per table.
I don't think we need more than one table.
I think we keep it at the same we did last year as well.
Yeah, because I mean, these are also things that. I don't know, I don't feel comfortable spending that much money on it, you know, if our community doesn't have access to that one. But are you okay with?
Well, the community does have access, but they have to pay $500.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's.
And what community has the money to be paying the
I don't
500?
even got that.
I don't, that's what I'm saying, like, if they don't have a benefit to it, you know, that's like.
So I would move for the supporting sponsor at 12,500.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
President Barraza.
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chair Perez.
Yes. We'll move on to the John F. Kennedy Memorial Foundation Obedient Project. This is for the Obedient Luncheon for 3,000. And that's for a patron sponsor.
We provided the 2,500 sponsorship last year, which is equivalent to the 3,000 this year. That offers two seats.
This is one of the ones that I like, you know, because I like the outcomes and feeling and stuff.
It is a great
Mhm.
luncheon.
Well, they're an amazing organization too.
Yeah, that's what I mean, then. Purpose of.
How would you guys respond? Not because I like, but raising it up to 5,000,
You know, the next level would be 6,000.
not 6,000, or raising it up to 6,000.
I'm fine with that.
What's 4 tickets for Billy Girls mean?
Well, so we would get 4 seats
And then they
it
give
would
4 tickets
sponsor
to
for
you.
tickets
And then,
affiliated.
The
So,
actual affiliate girls? or other girls?
yeah.
if you were-
You're more about raising it to 6,000.
make that motion.
And then we'll see, last year we did 2,500. And so,
That would give us 2 additional,
seats
seats for us, and then 2 additional seats for the
For-
PBA project girls.
Or.
Because the 3,000 doesn't include seats.
4 and 4.
Oh, so it doesn't include, I thought it did include the 2. Okay,
did you,
I make a motion to approve the grant for 6,000.
1 second,
Andrea, roll call.
President Baraza,
yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
Chair Perezio.
Yes. The next one is Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce, 15,000 visionary sponsorship.
And what this is that we've been working with, when I say we, me and Will and the communications marketing department. I've been working with the chamber in ways that we can possibly be at communicating and outreach for the healthcare district in chamber sponsored events. So you know, we wanted to look at this as ways that we could participate in different events that the chamber does throughout the year, and would give us you know, additional awareness in the community by doing this. And it's kind of more of a marketing type of you know, sponsorship, which some of them are anyway. I mean, we get some you know, marketing benefit from some of the sponsorships that we do. So they have different levels. We looked at the visionary level for 15,000, which, you know, would allow us opportunity to couple with the chamber at such events as the All Valley Mayors Conference, Tribal Leaders and Expo, and you know, different other events that we might participate in, you know, like with state of the city events and things like that. So,
Does that 15,000 include like tickets to some of those events or?
I don't think it includes tickets, but it's more about, you know, visibility.
Yeah,
And, you know,
yeah, I'm not opposed to it if it doesn't. I was just wondering if.
Yeah.
that was.
Do you have to like, so like these are some, the ones when you scroll down, like the La Quinta Chamber Mixer, so these are some of that dollars go towards that? Is that what they're meaning when they have all these different list of responses?
Well, what-
Car show and,
yeah, what it would mean is then that, you know, the 15,000 could be used for events that we would select from these types of
okay,
these types of events. So we would look at them and determine, okay, what events would kind of make sense. And this is an old list of, obviously, so
They're pretty much the same every year.
yeah, typically they're the same, but we would look at events that would make sense for us to participate in with some joint, you know, kind of advertising and marketing.
I think purely, I would make the motion for the 15,000. Specifically on the marketing aspect of it. They're very well attended events.
Mhm.
Almost all elected officials attend, business leaders, healthcare people.
Right.
So I mean, 15,000 for marketing for this number of events is pretty good.
Right, and also part of this relationship that we're developing with the chamber also allows us to do like even with you know, getting promotional kinds of items out.
Right.
too. So like our annual report,
Right.
that type of thing. They're gonna work with us and being able to disperse, you know, the annual report and different kinds of communication materials as well. So I think for the 15,000, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and you're getting 2 dedicated e-blasts for the year.
And so we're saying that the 15,000, it's a commitment. We still don't know which events we would be sponsoring. That's to be determined up until we run out of the credit.
Correct.
I mean, I would like that too, but I think, there's a lot of community events, right? Like the car show, the other things. I would like to see if we can focus more on the community.
Community events.
Because I think some of the other events, like the State of the Union or whatever, a lot of people already know about it.
Mhm.
But, I think what we need more is a community voice out there, right?
And personally, I kind of like to avoid the city ones,
Yeah.
just because we wouldn't necessarily be doing all cities. And sometimes we do the cities individually anyway, another state of the city addresses, so oftentimes.
Yeah, the two events, but I mean, there's the Quinta Car Show, there's the Tapas Tequila and Experience event.
Yeah,
And those are big.
exactly, yeah, those
Yeah.
type of events versus like the.
But even with like the
state
state
of
of,
the city.
but even with like the state of the city and like the All Valley mayors, you also have a lot of like different community partners that, not that they don't know us, but that we can also, benefit from them getting a refresher of who we are. And I think it can establish us as a partner. I can think of this, like the state of the county, Greg, we had, I know a bunch of other, special districts that had bought tables and that they had a presence there. And I was like, we should have had a table too. And so I think that some of these events are like a must. Which ones we're gonna decide to, sponsor. I think let's just look at the opportunity where, we might be able to sponsor some of these events and then the other smaller or more community oriented events, we might be able to sponsor separately. But I'm all for that. I also understand that there's some, opposition to this chamber. I know, like if I'm not mistaken, the city of Indio is trying to create, their own. There's been some, from what I've heard, some, issues internally. I was just make sure that, we're clear, right, and what we want to be sponsored and continue with that communication. And I think that, I'm all for supporting them and them supporting us. So, I believe that I heard a motion.
Mhm.
I'll second.
Roll call, Andrea?
President Barraza,
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mayor Perez Hill.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to new business. The 2025-2026 grant budget discussion and directions.
Okay, so two of our staff members, Eric and Donna, were so kind to work on this staff report that's coming actually kind of from two angles. One, to the Finance and Administration Committee, which was presented yesterday, because they're more along the lines of the budget component, which, and then also here at the Program Committee, where we're talking more specifically about what the committee recommends going forward on the grant. And the issue at hand is that of the $5 million budget, we've been talking about it a little bit beforehand along the way, so all familiar, but we have about 500,000 remaining in that annual budget through the end of June. And so we're looking for some guidance as to what we do moving forward, especially since we have the strategic plan still in place or still in process. And so who wants to go first on this? Eric presented yesterday at FNA. Donna, would you like to present
Well,
today?
Sure, but I think maybe we could just, highlight what FNA actually recommended.
Yes.
So you're not,
Well,
you're not thinking of like 500,000, but they actually recommended that $1 billion be added to the grant budget at the end of the year. So we have 1.1 billion for grants.
remaining, so a total of 6 million.
And that 1 million is coming out of the anticipated surplus for next fiscal year.
No,
Oh, this current one, okay.
Which is 3 million, right?
Yeah. had a couple of years that we haven't even used it,
Haven't used it.
that we've always carried over, so there was always some left over, but now.
That's right.
Now with the increased need in the community, I
And-
think that's where all these grants are coming from, right? Like, there's gonna be a lot more grants in the pipeline for
I
help.
don't know if so much an increased need, but I think it's into what Rob was saying that, you know, now that the word is getting out that we're gonna be getting $100 million in
exactly.
2027, just, you know, then 19 million the next 30 years. Now it's, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, let's start asking for larger grants, because we've never seen these size grants come in before. I mean, Intercare kind of sort of led the way. There are grants that,
Or like the 10 million for CVAC? Was that the highest?
oh, maybe that was the highest, yeah. And then
Yeah.
also
But
10
that
million
was
for
10 million.
CR as well. Yeah.
So,
And we weren't all
About
on
5
board
million
for
for
that.
that.
10 million for lift or eye.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
never through, so, yeah, but it was initially, that was the ask, yeah.
And
I think we may have to start seeing also what is more direct impact on the community, right?
Right.
And that's what the decision process, I think, needs to be here is to, because I think even with, if it's recommended by FNA to increase that additional million, you know, I think as a program committee, we're still gonna need to be kind of selective
Right.
in how we prioritize. So,
Right.
you know, it might be a deal of, you know, when we're bringing, grants for discussion that are outside of our high priority strategic goals. That has to be considered, whether we consider those right now or focusing more on those that are lined up with our high priority goals and such. So, anyway, that's part of the discussion here today that we're looking for guidance from and direction from the committee that would be, you know, ultimately go to the board for.
For final approval.
So, yeah.
We did include a chart that does show,
Yeah.
we broke it out and we, if you look at the bottom part, those are the ones actually submitted and that were pending over 15 million. The top part is actually grants that are, people are working on that haven't submitted yet, and that's 3.5, but we wanted to point out that of the ones of the 15 million, there are a couple that have picked goal, you know, goals that are outside of the high priority, and so we are, you only have a million four to play with now. I would think that my suggestion as a chief program officer is that the ones that have picked the non-priority goals, that they just not be considered right now and see where we go in our strategic plan. Whether we have, you know, our new pillars, our new initiatives, whether any of those would fit in, whether it's housing or it's homelessness or economic stability, type of thing. And then concentrate on the ones that are
That
following
are in our
instructions and,
strategic plan.
yeah, that are with goals 2, 3, and 6. There's no big that pick number 6, but, and then look at those. There are some, you know, we know that Eisenhower is on hold. Intercare is basically kind of on hold until they get the ACGME timeline together, even though it's something we do know we want to commit to down the road because it is a need for the primary care doctors and residency program. The 6 million from Loma Linda, we're waiting for the audit financials on that, and that might not even be until March or April. And we've also had a conference with Jeff, our legal, because we had a couple of legal concerns, whether or not he's going to run this by tenant, because it is that Loma Linda is a hospital-based trauma program. What hospital are they using? I'm sure it's gonna be Loma Linda's hospital. But is it non-compete because they're building in Ranch Mirage. This program. They do also have in that 6 million ask 1.6 to build out the construction. Yes, they have to use prevailing wage. Do we know if we're using prevailing wage? We have not had grant consultation
Yeah.
with them at all, but these are some of the questions that we have asked our legal counsel to also look into. So that would be one that could be on hold as well, whether or not, when we look at how we're gonna allocate that 100 million, is it gonna be, how much is going to facilities and infrastructure? Is there actual need for this hospital-based trauma-based thing for children? We don't know, but anyway, so there are some that we can actually look at that would fit in and that could be part of that 1.4 over the next 6 months.
and that's it,
Well, and I
going
think-
forward, approved, right? Because as of right now, we're only working with 500,000
Mhm,
for
mhm.
your 1.5,
Right.
that's the board approves, and then also, I'm not sure if we're gonna have a recommendation if we're okay with that amount, or maybe suggest a higher amount, maybe two
Two.
instead of one. Cause I mean, we are looking at 6 more months. I would hate for us to just turn around and be like, sorry, you're in the pipeline or you've already submitted, but we just can't. Right? I think that I would like to continue processing these, the ones that are not high priority, they should already know they're not high priority, and we just handle them as we usually do, one by one. I'm not sure, going back to previous comments, I'm not sure if we want to say, hey, a month before or in June, we will no longer accept any more grant applications under the strategic plan. Or if we want to do that earlier, or if we want to wait and just respect our strategic plan and wait until July 1st or whenever we adopt the new one. But I wouldn't want to just turn around and like tell people like, no, we can't. Because not that we ran out of money, and I don't think that we're in a position to just be spending money, but I would also hate for us to know that there are needs in the community and we're sitting on $3 million that we could be using to benefit the community, especially within our current strategic plan. So I don't know, any thoughts? These are just like preliminary thoughts that are coming.
If I may, I mean, coming also from the finance committee yesterday, to your point, President Barraza, is that it would require us as the program committee to be a little more critical in our analysis of the grant applications and look at the specific needs. And as if they're high priority enough for us to fund now, or if they're not that high priority, just because they are part of the high priority goals, if we deem them as not high priority today, if it's worthy of just postponing until we get through our strategic plan. So that should be part of our analysis too, I think.
I feel like we should, focus on what our strategic plan is now, the priorities that we have now. And, as the new strategic plans go, we'll change them. I feel that a lot of the things that are on that list for grants coming up are things that we need in the community, but we need to start seeing on the immediate need right now, right? Because there's a difference between, I mean, if you ask a community member, are you gonna pick, going to get seen at the doctor's office, or are you gonna pick a new hospital? I mean, obviously, they're gonna pick the getting seen, right? Because they don't, even though the hospital will benefit them in the long run, the hospital is not gonna benefit them right now. So they would obviously pick, what the need is right now. So I think we need to start focusing on that also. And, as far as raising it more than 1 million, I don't feel comfortable with that, because not just because we have it means we should spend it, because we still don't know what's gonna happen. If we use our surplus and we need it further down in the line for something else, like an emergency that comes up and we don't have it, we're gonna be in trouble. And also, aside from that, I think that for me, it would probably be like how you said about, cutting off the grants. I think it would be like easier if we do say like, as of April, we won't accept any more grants, right? And we'll have the April, May, and then June will be the new cycle. So we can have a little bit of time to adjust.
Yes, I also have some other additional comments. So on the surplus, is this just surplus on the grants? Or is it just like in total, or?
Total district budget, what we anticipate we'll have with the projected revenue and projected expenses, so.
Okay, thank you.
And I did fail to mention, thank you, Alejandro, that we, to continue our mobile health program. We are waiting for DPMG to submit a grant to continue that, the grant contract ended in October.
Mhm.
They have been doing some mobile health services from their own expenses. But we have not been out in the community as much as we have, and people are asking, where are we? the detriment to our own mobile health program that we are establishing now, that recognition and that need and that reliance on our mobile health unit. So we're also looking at that is to be a high priority, make sure that really does continue, that we don't have any gaps in services from our mobile health units.
Continuing, do we have any information on what we funded this year? Where, the allocations are going or those services are going to, within the region? Like, do we have any numbers or percentage of like how much, we've granted for the La Quinta area? Or like FAMDES, or do we have any of that information? Do we know, like, we've been funding things in Desert Hot Springs or Coachella or Mecca? Do we have any information on?
We could pull it.
And the reason I'm asking, right, as well, is to understand, do we need to consider that? Or, moving forward, and so the other question is,
If may answer that, too, a lot of our grantees do, when we ask what are your target areas, most of them pick all cities. So they're
okay,
serving all cities.
good, I'm not sure if that gets reported back.
Say that, probably true.
So, and then the other is, so from these amounts, or the requested amounts, are we? I know that we don't pay them like upfront.
Right.
What are the amounts that would be expected to be, if we were to approve, how do these amounts differ? So for example, the 3,500, no, not 3,000, 3,500,000.
If it's a grant under 250,000, we let them, we have 6 month reporting period.
Mhm.
It's grant over 250,000, this is part of the approved grant process. It's every quarter that they have to report. So we give out, when they sign the contract, we give out the first installment in
Mhm.
advance, and then then they have to submit that first period progress report, a budget report, and when that's all okay, then we give them the next
Okay.
payment. in advance.
Wondering, I would like to see how these numbers change based on that. And see like if these amounts would have to be paid before our new fiscal year or.
Yeah, we have to accrue the total amount of the.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah, any future payments now coming out with already awarded grants are not affected by this part of the budget. Yeah.
It's fully expensed at the time of award.
I just don't feel, and I think this might just be my last comments, I don't feel that we should turn around and just tell applicants like, sorry, like, come back again in July. Like, I don't think that we should like tell them that, or like, hey, we'll reconsider you within our new strategic plan. I think that it should be up to them if they submitted it within this strategic plan, that we continue processing them. And then being clear, right, with them, especially those that are not within high priority, letting them know you're not within high priority. So again, reiterating that we're gonna be focusing on high priority asks. I just wouldn't want the district to tell an applicant like, sorry, we cannot process you because just wait and you might have a higher chance, right? Or yeah, like I just wouldn't want us to be like in that like position.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you.
I understand what you're saying about like not telling them no. But the reality is that, yeah, we might have this 100 million in 2027, but right now we don't have that money. Right? So right now, what we're spending, we need to be careful on what we're spending. Because we still don't know if that's 100% thing. You know, we know that the voters voted for it or whatever, but we don't know if it's fully gonna go through. So I would hate for us to put ourselves in a position where we're having to ask for help or whatever, or bond because we overspent. The other thing is, I think that if we do that we do tell the grannies that we're not gonna be accepting after a certain point, they might also understand because they also know that we're transitioning into a new way of granting, you know, and a new strategic plan. I think that if we're gonna focus on the strategic plan that we have now, that we have been focusing on mostly for the past, couple of years since we did it, we should actually focus on what it is. I know there's been a lot of grants that have been oh, well, this is a low priority, but it's only so and so dollars, let's fund that grant. We need to make sure that if we're gonna get a strategic plan that we're gonna follow it to the T.
And I agree with you, and I don't want us to just go out there spending like nothing, right? Like I'm there with you. I really don't wanna put us in that position. Although it's one of those things where like you get to a restaurant and they say they close at 10 and you're there at 9:50 and they don't wanna provide services. So it would be something similar, right? So are we gonna, I'm cool as well if we wanna determine after this month, we will no longer be accepting applications within this strategic plan. And if that's something that we as a board wanna move forward with, and I'm all for that. And if we are gonna do something like that, we should actually put it out sooner rather than later so we could see it in our next meeting. But yeah, I just want to feel comfortable with us saying like, we're just not gonna see you anymore because it's 5 minutes before we close. But then I understand that we're gonna run out of money. I'm also okay. I'm not asking for the full 3 million, and I'm not saying let's just go spending. I'm just saying let's continue processing these, especially the ones that are in. Cause I think it would just only be fair for the applicant, for us to process their application. And then if we continue processing them and we don't have any money, it's like we processed you, we just don't have any money to give you. And I think that would put the district in a better situation than just pushing people or organizations away because we're running that up.
So and I think it's very acceptable to be able to communicate that we are in the midst of a strategic plan. I mean, closing the restaurant at 5 minutes to 10. I mean, that's close and done. We would say, okay, come back tomorrow morning, we'll open that. But, I mean, I can imagine other funding agencies, they have their, if they have their strategic planning or if they have their grant period and that, I don't think it offends the grant applicant. To be able to say that, hey, we have expended our budget for the year, we have to be strategic on how we are, developing our new strategic plan. And internally, as Director Beresco was indicating, I still am concerned about the LPA, the validation of it, because I know our legal counsel keeps saying, "What's a slam dunk?" There's no problem. But the judge keeps pushing this along. There's now a trial date set for September. And we don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. We don't know, our legal counsel will say it could never get to the point of the lease agreement being annulled, so to speak. And if that potentially were to happen, even the 70+ million that we have in the bank, if for some reason Tenant were able to, if Eisenhower wins and they were able to make the agreement null and void, to want to have the non-compete language removed, and Tenant were not to agree to that and say, okay, we need to do it, then we're also back on the hook for the size. And that's where the 70+ million has been kind of reserved for, so I think we're gonna have freedom of all of those resources in these months, but to your point, Director, let's go ahead. I think it's not going to focus. That's my understanding.
Right now, if it doesn't go through at the end, we've already lost a year of strategy of how we're gonna come up with the money for the seismic funding. And that's something that I don't think a lot of us see, that, yeah, we're already counting on this decision being approved by the voters, but we still have a judge and we still have lawyers that are going to court to figure out if it's gonna go through or not. And possibly, he said the next court date is September.
Well,
That's gonna be a whole year.
the next actual court date is February 19th, but the trial date has been scheduled for September. It may not get to trial, but the problem is with this is even though Jeff has said that, you know, he's filed these validation actions, they've never been contested. So there's no case law on the contesting of a validation action. So this judge, my perception is that since he keeps this thing going and has ordered discovery, and they may probably will be depositions, possibly with directors, management, etc. You know, he could be looking at, okay, I can make my name on this case for some case law issues. So, I mean, I think it's not well. So, and I'm not a legal person.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
I agree with President Barraza about not telling people that are currently in the pipeline of applications that we're not even gonna look at. So I think we continue to look at those. I think we should, again, prioritize those that don't meet the priority in the current strategic action plan. We have to be very, very, very critical of. I would tend to agree with President Barraza on increasing it to 2 million. Just because of looking at what's in the pipeline, and then to Alejandro's point on the medical clinic, if that comes through, that would cover that portion. And then I also think that we should sooner than later is inform the community that we are not going to be accepting any more applications under the current strategic plan, because we're just not gonna have the money to even look at them. And so I think it's better to be upfront. And to your point, Chris, is that many organizations do that. We're going through a strategic planning process. We're setting new priorities, and so we need to wait to think anything.
Thing with like informing the public ahead of time, not just from one day to another, like, hey, sorry, but no, sorry, but yeah.
And is that communication, would that be effective based on what we have coming through the pipeline now, or do we cut that off at a certain time?
I think we cut that off. No, I think we deal with what we have in the pipeline now. I agree with President Barraza that
Right.
that's not fair to
I
the people that have already submitted and that are working with program committee and all that. So
I don't see any problem with those either if those have not submitted. I mean, we could still continue talking to
Talking
them
to
about
them, right.
the applications, and like I've been upfront.
that's what
With the
are you
last-
okay with that too?
With the last applicants to say, hey, this is what happened, and we might not have the money, and we might have to put your application on hold. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, and I think that if we are gonna give a notice, right, it's, either just within like the next 30, 60 days, and this is something also that we can bring forward to the full board to see what they want to see, so,
Right.
you know, we'll be able to have those conversations. But yeah, cause I mean, it could be that we don't approve anything the next 2 months because we don't know what that's gonna look like, right? And so it's like, I don't just wanna say no to organizations and then be like, you didn't consider us, you didn't see us. So I'm okay, and I don't know if it's an official recommendation that we want to move forward to the full board saying no more applications after April. That's where it would be February, March, April, that's 3 months. Or if we want to do June, again, understanding that we're only looking at 500,000 because we haven't approved anything else. So at the end, like, that's what we're working with. We don't know, the full board might not want to increase it at all. And then we just go through what we have, and then we run out, or we run out. And that's, I think, if we're upfront and clear and with our current applicants, and then also decide on what the cutoff date is gonna be.
And one thing that I think we could consider too, because even with that theory of potentially increasing 2 million, that isn't even enough to cover what's applied for under the high priority goals,
Right.
correct?
Right. That's what I mean.
So I think we need to look at, okay, would we consider funding partial requests? Versus the full amount kind of a deal, because I know grant funders do that too, where they may not award the full amount.
Right.
And, you know, like with the Loma Linda one, I mean, if we do consider that, it's a $6 million deal. And, you know, there's some issues in there, so it may not be that full amount, but anyway, just thoughts that we would have to consider as we're reviewing grants.
I don't know if we, I mean, I don't know if we wait till April to cut it off for new ones.
I don't think so.
I think we, like February,
Yeah.
Maybe we should just wait and see what.
See what
the
the board
board says, yeah. So do I?
End of the board.
Can I'm sorry.
No, I just say another recommendation, just in line with what Chris was saying, is maybe for future, we need to consider a cap on the grant amount awards. You know, other larger foundations have a cap,
Yeah,
200,000, 100,000 in those special cases like Loma Linda's or other ones. Obviously, those could be the exception, but
Yeah.
setting grant limits on
Yeah.
the grants. So we're not facing this next year, even
Right.
more money, or have the asks. You know, they just shifted with our budget.
so can I make a motion then?
Do we
Or
need-
do you do?
It's just direction.
Okay,
So it would really probably a recommendation to the board.
okay, so are we in a consensus to, I know you're somewhat opposed to the 2 million, but we can discuss that with the board. But deal with the current pipeline right now. I would say at the end of February, notifying that we're not gonna take any more applications.
I agree with you. And the amount is, I mean, we can discuss it with the board, you know, but they do want us to give an amount so that we can recommend to them. So what are we?
I would
agreeing on
recommend 2 million.
I would do the 2 million, so.
And that's okay for you to do that? I mean, we were going to the F&A committee for a recommended amount, but that has to be decided by the whole board.
Right, exactly.
So that's, you know, discussion item.
So can I say, doing you guys say
The same
it's
thing. Just because we're seeing what's in the pipeline, I'm sure they did too, but.
So, you're in and I'm ready to move, so we still have another.
Now we got foundation.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
Okay, so all,
I can take the notes for.
are there any committee member comments at this time? I'll adjourn the meeting at 5:03 PM and we'll go directly into the Desert Healthcare Foundation meeting. So I'll call the Desert